So things are looking great out back, guys. Bear with me, I'm going to give you the full tour. I hope you got the patience for this one. If y'all been subscribed for a while, I think y'all might know I was trying to do a pond feature here, but after watching water flow on my property and some careful consideration, I decided against it, seeing as too much water would have been pooling up here around my foundation. So instead I just added a drainage hole so that all the water can drain off the property and away from my foundation. But I'm trying to go for a shade garden here with a lot of flowering plants. Got an elephant ear, an iron plant, some nettles as well. I love the nettles. They're going to be an awesome ground cover once they start spreading. Little bowl here for my bees. They're going to need some water. This is a spotted dead nettle. Love those purple flowers. They're just beautiful. A little mondo grass here as well, starting to perk up here now that we've got some high temperatures. And right over there is a lily of the valley, which I'm hoping those bulbs will start showing some life as well here in the next couple weeks. Got a small garden planter here, more chamomile coming up, a little bit of mint on the other side. Try to keep those confined. This entire bed is going to be a flower bed basically, so I've got buckwheat coming up, which is a great grain crop. You can grind it down for flour, which is something that me and my wife do anyway. They're really good with cookies. We make good buckwheat cookies, but you can make buckwheat pancakes as well. Along the border here I'm growing a great pollinator. It's great for pollinators, sorry. It's carpet of snow, Elysium. So they're starting to come up right now. We've had enough heat for those seeds to germinate. And I'm basically just turning this whole area into a big flower bed for my bees. Let me talk about my apple polyculture here. I've got a centralized apple tree right here. I've got muscadine grape growing up it because vines grow up trees in nature. At the base of it we got quite a bit of garlic. My garlic is looking strong. It prevents pests, borers specifically. I've also got garlic chives growing next to it. Those also prevent pests. I can make a chive tea spray and spray it on the plant, or just grow it as is and it'll help prevent pests. My comfrey is slowly coming back to life here. Not as strong in some other areas. You'll see that in a minute. Yarrow as well. It's a great medicinal. It's a great nutrient accumulator. It's great for everything. Of course, I cover crop everything with clover. Clover is going to provide some nitrogen fixation as well as flowers for the bees. If you all remember my broccoli, it's finally going to flower right now. I'm hoping to collect a bunch of the seeds on this and maybe start a seed exchange program online with all my garden fans. Kale, still kicking it, still looking really good. Hadn't gone to flower yet. It looks like it's trying to bolt here with the warmer temperatures we've been getting, but we're still eating kale, and when it goes to flower, I'll let it go to flower. So here you go, a functional apple polyculture. The apple tree itself hasn't shown much growth. It's just now starting to bud, but I don't expect that one to really show me some signs of life for yet another couple months. I've started an herb hedge here. Lavender, more lavender, more lavender. And then I've got rosemary stagger planted with it, as well as a little bit of thyme. I love thyme. It's a great medicinal. You can make a great cough syrup with thyme. Thyme tincture is great. Of course, I've cover cropped everything here. I've overseeded it with clover and buckwheat. It's one of my favorite cover crops. Clover is nitrogen fixation. The buckwheat, of course, is for bees, and I get, something out of it as well. This was one of the first elderberry seedlings I put in the ground. It's alive and doing well. I'm expecting it to produce this year since it's on a 2-year-old cane there. Behind me here is my acid guild that I've been talking about. So I'll start off with my hydrangeas, which are just now starting to once again wake up. They're breaking dormancy and showing a little green growth. The blueberries right here next to it are doing just fine. They're starting to show some new growth. This is the low bush, and right next to it I got a high bush blueberry, which is really throwing on a lot of flowers. The mason bees are the prime pollinator of the blueberries, just because the flower itself is pretty small. It's kind of tough for a standard honeybee to get in there, but I've seen the mason bees coming. Another hydrangea starting to break dormancy. I'm getting green shoots on the tips. I got 2 rabbit eye blueberries here. They're starting to put on some green growth, and they're starting to flower out a little bit. So the acid guild is looking good. Wild aster is growing well as well. And here's my final hydrangea as well, breaking dormancy. So here's my acid guild. It's doing good. It's in good shape. Let's talk about the pear polyculture I got going on here. Pear tree. These are Kiefer pears. They're not like your standard soft pear. They're a little bit harder, but they make a good pear sauce with them, and they're good for storage. The yarrow I've got growing at the base of it is coming back to life. It's self-seeded itself and basically survived all the winter. Doing really good. Of course, cover cropped with clover. Another perennial coming back to life is the lemon balm. It's really making an appearance. I've got some onions that are coming in as well. Good pest preventers. I'll probably let some of these onions go to flower just for the pollination aspect, and I'll probably harvest others. Kale, more kale. Here is, I don't know if you can see this, but I got an asparagus here that I don't even think I planted. So that looks like a volunteer, which, hey, I'm not going to complain with. Let the asparagus grow. Here is my elderberry row. It's basically my elderberry patch. Love elderberry. It's a great antiviral. You can make a good antiviral tincture. So that is looking good. Once again, it's overseeded and covered with buckwheat and clover. If you all remember my collards, they've blown up. They're ready to flower, and I'm going to let them flower. In fact, they're so tall you probably can't even see my dwarf peach tree here in the middle of it. So the collards are looking good. Dwarf peach tree is here in the middle of it. And once the collards all die back, their roots will leave a nice little humus in the ground for this peach tree to feed off of. The peach polyculture, once again, cover cropped, buckwheat clover, and I've got basil here growing next to it. So here's some basil seedlings that I started in about February. If you all remember my greenhouse garden update, there's the basil finally in the ground. So I'm expecting those to grow up real well. They're a great companion plant for peaches. The cages are all blackberries. They're starting to put on growth. Around the cages, I've put in peas, sugar snap peas and sugar daddy peas. So once these peas really take off, I'm going to trellis them up the cages, around the blackberries, and eventually those peas will die back. They'll provide some nitrogen fixation for the blackberries, and they're not really going to compete much for nutrients. They kind of have a different strata of soil that they live in. Here's another peach tree. This is not a dwarf peach. This is a standard peach. And its polyculture includes quite a bit of plants down here. I've got comfrey. It's showing life. Catnip I'm growing around here as well. And most people would say it's a weed, but it's actually a great companion plant. Mustard growing up next to it, which is going to help make the soil a little bit sweeter. And I've got some more basil around here. Basil there, little opal basil right there, standard lemon basil and Genovese basil mix right here and here. So this will be a functional polyculture here in the next month or so. You'll really see it take off, and you'll see what I'm saying. about the guilds, how I'm mixing the plants. More collards, once again, taken off to seed. I'm going to let them seed because, you know, here again, my bees are coming. I'm picking them up tomorrow. Here's the 3 garden boxes. Before I get to that, let me show you this other pear tree. Just to show you the flowers. I mean, they're so pretty. How are you going to beat that? So it's doing good. Its polyculture consists of comfrey right over there, which seems to be doing well. Little yarrow coming up as well. There's more yarrow near the base of this right over there. So yarrow is, once again, great companion plant. It's good for the pollinators. Here is thyme growing up, and I left this guy for dead. I did not think it was going to come back, and sure enough, it made an appearance. So that's the pear polyculture. Keep in touch, man. In another month or so, you won't even be able to see the ground. And I have a question for everybody. I've got a volunteer here, and at first I thought it was a weed, but as I'm looking at it, it kind of looks like celery. Can anybody ID this plant for me? You can ID it, let me know. But I won't eat it if I can't ID it. And that's usually the saying I go by. If you can't ID it, don't eat it. Moving back, let me show you the garden boxes, the raised beds. Whew, going good. I mean, this is a salad bowl here. I've got kale that has been seeded at a different time than all the other kales. So these guys are starting to take off. Of course, there's all types of lettuce in here. We've been plucking lettuce already, so this is going to be a giant salad bowl for us here. A little bit of mint in there. Some peas. I've even got a volunteer Malabar spinach starting to show up. So here's one, here's another one, here's another one. But I didn't even plant Malabar spinach in this bed. Somehow it got seeded into there from the other bed that I have. Some onions, once again as pest preventers, and some chamomile. I love my chamomile. Can't wait to see that blow up. I've got chamomile planted everywhere in this garden. In a lot of different locations too, just to see how it grows in full sun, partial sun, and full shade. Here's the herb bed proper. Rosemary, sage that I thought was dead is coming back to life. More thyme coming back to life. Here's the lemon balm that I love so much, really coming back to life. The bees are going to love that. I've got garlic planted right down the middle of the bed. Oregano. And mint does spread, just so y'all know. But I am not scared of that at all. So we got apple mint everywhere growing in here. Red vein sorrel coming up. And more basil in the corner coming up. Keep in touch, that bed's going to get real green. Here's another veggie and herb bed mixed. Once again, more kale. A lot of lettuce here at the bottom. Carrots are in here. More chamomile. I love chamomile. It's a great tea. It's a good medicine, good companion plant, good everything. More carrots, more lettuce, more lemon balm. So the raised boxes are really starting to show life once I took the greenhouse down. I've got a flower bed started over here. Lots of buckwheat, clover. I've planted some flowers down here too, just a wildflower mix, so we'll see how that goes. There's the muscadine grape coming up. And here's another blackberry growing up. All my blackberry are starting to show their true spring growth right now. So I'm expecting these guys to be flowering within the next month or two. With that, let me take a break. I need to get a drink, man. It's a lot of talking. Hope you guys are enjoying the journey. Just give me 1 second here.